It's literally been weeks since I've been on a camera. But hi guys, my name is Mayana and today I'm going to be doing my May wrap up. So I didn't do a wrap up last month because I really just read Star Wars books and I just didn't think that anyone would like that wrap up video because my Star Wars video, like, it didn't do like that well. But I just didn't think anyone would care because all I read was Star Wars books, and I read like one book that wasn't Star Wars, but I didn't really care to talk about it, to be honest. So I just didn't do one. But this month I'm back to my normal. I'm not really hyperfixating. I mean, I'm hyperfixating on like the Little Mermaid, but those don't really have like books. I mean, they do, but like not like Star Wars, you know. So I really don't have anything like to hyperfixate on reading wise. So I only read 20 books this month. Yeah, I usually read a lot more in a month, but I've been kind of feeling the reading slump hit me and I just let it, to be honest. I already reached my Goodreads reading goal. I'm way ahead of schedule, to be honest. I kind of need to slow down. I only want to read 300 books this year, but like at the pace I'm going, I'm gonna end up reading like 400. So yeah, but anyways, let's just get into this video because I'm really excited to talk about the books that I read in May because I don't know, I really liked the like eras that I was in. First, I read The Lies of Lamora. I was trying to get through my fantasy series TBR that I have a video that I made a few months ago, and this is when I realized that I'm just gonna try to read, because at first I had like a bunch of fantasies in 1 month and I was like, well, this is gonna take me forever to read and I don't want to spend my entire month reading fantasies. So I just decided that I'm just gonna try to get through these series like as little, like a little each month. So instead of having like 5 big fantasy series, I'm just gonna have like 1 or 2 big fantasy series that I want to read a month and then try to get through it that way. So instead of like having like a bunch, I read The Lies of Lamora. I ended up giving it 3 stars. In the beginning I really liked it. I thought the book was like really funny. I really liked Lamora as a character. This book is about Lamora, who is a thief. He grew up as an orphan. The first like half of the book you follow him being an orphan, and he's a thief. Like, he is so good at thieving, at stealing, because like he grows up in an orphan, and in that orphan like they need like children to steal, and so he's so good that even like the like guy who like is in charge is like, dude, you need to stop, like you need to chill out. And like Lamora's like, I don't know, man, and he just cannot help himself. And I just thought this book was like so funny. You follow like him like as an orphan and him like kind of being adopted technically in that family that he had and those characters, and I thought it was like fun, but at the same time there was no like action in this book. There was nothing happening, so I ended up getting like really bored. I'm not sure if I'll continue on with the next book. I mean, a lot of people say it's fun, I think, but I don't know. I'll have to see, because it kind of disappointed me because I just thought it was gonna be like so much fun, especially because in the beginning, like the first few chapters, I was having so much fun. I think what I liked the most was I liked the stories about him and his childhood and like him like being adopted and that, but like once you got to like the adulthood, I kind of didn't care. So I don't know if I'll finish. First, when I first finished it, I wasn't going to continue on with the series, but the more I think about it, the more I think that I will continue on, just because I did really enjoy it. So the next book I have is Fourth Wing, and you will never guess what I gave this book unless you follow me on Goodreads. You will never guess what I gave this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought this book was so much fun. This book is about this girl. I forgot her name, but so basically her mom is like a very important lady. Like, she's like, basically think of it as like the dean of like this school, and she has to go to the school obviously, and she wants to do a specific thing, but her mom doesn't let her. Her mom makes her go and do like this. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's terrible at explaining it. I'm so sorry, but this is just how I understood it in my brain. And so her mom makes her go into like this other thing, which is like really dangerous. Her older brother was in it, her sister was in it, her other brother passed away, and her sister is like, I feel like a grade or so above her. And in this school, you either graduate or you die, which gives me Deadly Education vibes, I'm not gonna lie. You either graduate or you die, and there's this guy there, and her family killed, I think it was his dad. So then his family killed her, like was not killed but was responsible for her brother. And so they kind of have that enemies to lovers aspect, and it has like dragons, and it has found family, and it has like POC characters, and the author has even specified that like the love interest is supposed to be a POC. It kind of has a little bit of a love triangle, which, oh my gosh, y'all know I love love triangles. I love them down. I usually don't get annoyed by other characters, but I will say the other guy in the love triangle was pissing me off. Like, he made me so, he was so irritating. Like, he was so irritating. He gave kind of like Gale vibes from the Hunger Games, but like worse. He was so annoying. And so I just thought it was so fun. I just felt like the romance didn't really click for me. Like, I thought the romance was good. I felt it was a little corny. Like, her name was, I think her name was Violet, because he always called her Violence, and I just thought that was so corny. But I think it made the most sense. Like, I love nicknames. Like, I love, like, when I get a boyfriend, like, he gotta call me nicknames, you know? He gotta give me a cute nickname. But I think in books it never like happens like naturally. Like, it's always like the main character says like a name, like he just starts calling her like sweet tart or some shit like that, and it's like it always has to be unique, and it's always for the purpose, like, you know, it's for the purpose, like when the fans are like editing, they can be like blah 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 and his sweetheart, or blah 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 and his, you know, like, you know. And so it kind of gave those vibes in Fourth Wing, but at the same time it made a lot of sense. I think it was a little bit cringe. It was a little bit cringe, and it's like I don't get why he called her that, because she wasn't violent. Like, she had like this thing with knives, but she wasn't really violent. I think she was like very much the opposite. And I also like this book because it had a rep for disability, and the main character, she has very fragile bones, and so it's like really hard for her to like ride these dragons. Oh, and then the dragons, oh, the lore, the world building was so amazing. That's mostly why I loved it. Like, the lore of this book, the world building was so amazing. I could give a damn about the romance, but and I think what I really liked about it is I'm not a fantasy like romance person. I can't read fantasy romance because a lot of authors focus more on the romance than they do the fantasies, or like the world is like a really basic generic world, and the romance, like, it's just like that's what the author focuses on. Whereas in this book, it focuses so much on the world. It focuses on, I feel like it does it perfectly, like 50% the world, 50% the romance. Like, it was just, the hype is worth it. Like, this book is like one of the most, well, last time I checked, I haven't checked up on it in a while, but it's like literally one of the most highest rated books on Goodreads. Like, it's above, it's like right below the Way of, like the second book in the Way of Kings series. So this book's like literally at like a 4.7 last time I checked. It is so worth it. It is so worth it. Like, loved it down. So then I read this book called Get Even. And this book, okay, so one of my mutuals on Twitter, they posted this book, and it was like, they were like, oh, like, this book is about this girl and her boyfriend cheats on her with her best friend, so she sleeps with his brother and his best friend. So then I was like, oh, okay, period. So I read it. First of all, I'll start the book. It starts off with a trigger warning for racism. What do you mean a trigger warning for racism? What do you mean? It's written by a white author. Like, what do you mean? So I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a chance still. So I'm reading the book. First of all, it's super, like, the writing is it's not that, you know, it's not all that. The writing's not that, girl, for real. And then I just feel like the main character, like, I get that her boyfriend cheated on her, but it was like she just kept talking about it. I don't know, it just was getting annoying at a certain point. And then it's like at a certain point, like, okay, so she also, the book is, okay, so it does follow, like, you know, the plot. Her boyfriend cheated on her, she finds him, she ends up sleeping with his best friend and his brother, but then she also ends up getting with his enemy and like fake dating him. And like, I thought it was gonna be like a reverse harem type of thing, because y'all know I love those. It wasn't. That's not why I didn't like the book or anything. I was just a little disappointed when I realized that. But then also she ends up getting this best friend, and her best friend ends up being black, and it's like she only gets that, to me, like, it read like she only got that best friend because she was like, because she needed to replace her other best friend, because her best friend, like, they were roommates, like, she needed to move out, all this stuff. And so the racism come in where it's like the girl is like, the ex-best friend is like, oh, like, I can't believe you're friends with those people. Like, you know how like when people are talking about black people, they say like those people or these people, you know. So she was just kind of like, I can't believe you're friends with these people. And then the main character was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was friends with her. And like, it's like, I get it, but I'm like, it wasn't, I mean, thank God, I'm not complaining, like, thank God it wasn't that bad, because I didn't really feel like reading like some really traumatic stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess I applaud the author for putting in that trigger warning though. I gave it 1 star. I just thought that the writing wasn't that good. I thought the main character kept complaining about getting cheated on, which is like, I get it, but it was like, I feel like the author, yeah. And then I didn't really care about the romance. So then the next book I read was Queen Charlotte. and I gave it 5 stars. I have a video on this where I talk about the book in depth, and I basically tell you the differences between the book and the TV show. So this is my Queen Charlotte era. I was absolutely obsessed. Oh my gosh, I love it. I need to rewatch it. I'm in my Little Mermaid era, so. And then I thought I was gonna get into like my historical romance era, which I might still like. I have some historical romances on my TBR, and I want to start implementing them more in my monthly readings because I just think they're so fun. And when I think about historical romances, I think about summer for some reason. I don't know. And so I do want to implement them more into my readings. But yeah, Queen Charlotte, I gave it 5 stars. It was exactly like the book. I mean, exactly like the TV show. The depth that it added was so good. I love these characters. I need to reread it. Like, reading these, like, one thing I like about reading like an adaptation of a book is the fact, well, like, you know, when the TV show comes out, then they make an adaptation for it afterwards. I love reading what the characters thoughts. That's why I love reading. I love being in a character's mind. I love knowing what they're thinking and what they wonder if, like, you know, what the other person is thinking and things like that. And so when like I was reading this book and I got to see like when Farmer George, like when he first saw like Charlotte for the first time and how he literally compared her to like the stars. Oh, it was so good, like so good. Shonda Rhimes. And then next I read Happy Place, which I ended up giving 3 stars. This is not my favorite Emily Henry book. I would say it would go Book Lovers, People Moving on Vacation, Beach Read, Happy Place. So this one, I mean, I really tell you what the spot. It's like fake dating, which I am tired of fake dating. I talked about this a few months ago. I'll still read fake dating. Fake dating has always been my favorite, even when I was in high school. But yeah, so I just feel like fake dating, I'm kind of tired of fake dating, and I feel like for adults it doesn't really work out. Like, I mean, in this book it made sense because they like had already broke up. I just didn't care about the couple. I didn't care about the romance. I wasn't swooning over them. I did kind of like the characters, but whatever. And then it's also like, and like obviously I don't expect Emily Henry to write about people of color or anything like that because she's a white author. But it's like it's very obvious that like she kind of like spins the wheel and it's like, what hair color is the girl for my next book? But you know, I have loved all of her previous, I think I gave all of her previous books 5 stars. So technically she's considered my favorite like romance author because, you know, I have a rule where I have to give a book, I have to read 3 or more books from an author that's not in a series, and I have to give them all 5 stars in order for me to get, like have a favorite author. And so far I think Emily Henry is the only one who reaches those requirements. So not every book is gonna be a banger, you know, because the authors have to release 1 book a year. So I understand. The next book I have, so now we into my YA era. I don't really know how I got here, but yeah, because I'm not really a YA person, but I just want to read some YA contemporaries. So I did a 24-hour readathon and I read these books. So yeah, I read What's Not to Love. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was an academic rivals to lovers. I thought it was super fun. These characters absolutely are terrible to each other. Well, not terrible, but they're like kind of toxic, and I love toxic, so I ate it up. And then I read Snake and Valley, which I gave 1 star. This was like about a all-girls school that is now becoming like a school for boys and girls, and the main character does pranks a lot, and she ends up like fake dating her rival's cousin. And I thought I was like, fine. I was just over fake dating. And then I have A Disaster in 3 Acts, and this is about a girl who is basically like there was a lot going on in this plot. Basically her best friend was dating this guy, and he was kind of like her enemy, but she needed his help, and so she ends up like helping him but sneaking around at the same time. And her best, like, they kind of like lose that friendship because she's sneaking around, and whatever, it wasn't really that important. I talk about it more in the 24-hour readathon. So then I read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, because obviously Kayla from Books Mama read it, so I had to read it as well. She talked about it in one of her vlogs. It sounded so fun and interesting. I was like, I have to read this book. So I got it from my library, and I got the ebook, and I was trying to read it and it was so funny and it was good and I was liking it, but it was so dense. Like it was so like hard for me to like really read. Like I was like reading a chapter and being like, oh, I need a break. So I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna get the audiobook. I had to wait like 4 weeks for that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the audiobook and then I'm gonna read it. So after 4 weeks, I finally get the audiobook and I cannot pay attention to it. Like I cannot pay attention to the audiobook. I keep pausing it. I keep pausing to get on Twitter. Like I just cannot sit there and listen to this audiobook. So I mean, I finally make it through. But I ended up giving 3 stars. Also, I feel like the book kind of lost its humor when I read the audiobook. So when the sequel comes out, I'm just gonna sit there and I'm gonna read it. I also made my sister read this book and she also gave it 3 stars. And we're both gonna read the next book. So I think when I read the next book, I need to just stick to reading the ebook. Like that is what's best for me. Stick with what you know, girls. I'm gonna stick with the ebook. But yeah, this book is about this. I mean, it's about the title, like everyone in my family has killed someone. It's about this man and everyone in his family has killed someone. His wife, his brother-in-law, I mean his sister-in-law, his mom, his dad, his stepdad, his brother. Like, you know, there's a lot going on there. And there's also like a mystery kind of going on under the surface. It's a very funny book. Very funny, very hilarious. I loved it. I just wish that I would have stuck with the ebook. So then I read Also Half a Soul because Kayla read it and everyone else has been reading it, but I saw Kayla read it. I started to read this book earlier this year and I soft DNF'd it because I just was listening to the audiobook and I just was not paying attention. One thing about me is like once I stop paying attention to the audiobook, I'm like, okay, I need to hang it up. So I was like, I'm gonna give the ebook a try. So I read half of it on the ebook and then I was like struggling, so then I picked it up on Audible as well and I ended up struggling some more. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. I really liked it. I really liked the Fae aspect. I really love the Regency era aspect because I was just coming off my Bridgerton high. I just feel like it wasn't really like a plot going on, and then the romance was just like not something like it wasn't like bad or anything. It just wasn't something that like I usually go for. Like I really like fun. It doesn't always have to be like enemies to lovers or second chance romance or anything like that. I just like a more interesting romance. And I was going to continue on with the series, but then there were about characters I didn't care about. So I just said I was gonna read Half a Soul. The author has another book that I want to check out, so I might check that out. But cute book. I'll give it a reread someday. I did like the book. I really liked the fact that like, oh, did I tell you what the book? It's a popular book, but I'll tell you what the book is about. It's about this girl, and one day she's talking to this elf troll. I think it's an elf, and she basically like kind of disrespected, not really, but like in its mind she disrespected. So he's like, I'm gonna take your soul. So he tries to take her soul. Her cousin saves her with a pair of scissors that's in the cover. I love the beginning of this book so much. So he takes, you know, he tries to take her soul with the scissors. The cousin like saves her, so she has half a soul. So like basically it's like an allegory for autism, which is why I read it, because I was like, I love this. It was like basically like she doesn't really react the same way that other people react. She doesn't get sarcasm. She doesn't like, you know, get certain things that other people get. Like I said, basically an allegory for autism, and I absolutely love that. But I just found like the romance wasn't all that interesting. And then once, I don't know, like I loved the beginning of the book, but once we really got into it, I was kind of just like, okay, the fun completely disappeared from me. So then I read that Selfsame Metal, which is a like Shakespeare, not retelling, but it's like Legendborn but with Shakespeare, you know. And I had an arc of this book, and then the book came out and I was like, I want to read this. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It has a love triangle in it, and it's about like this main character and her brother. They like work for like she literally works for Shakespeare. Like she literally works for Shakespeare. Like she makes the costumes for the Shakespeare plays. And I just think that, I thought that was like so cool, because I'm quite a Shakespeare girly, if I say so myself. Not like too much, but like a little bit. So, and I thought it was like fine. It has like fae in it and things like that. I just like, I think when I think about the things that I want when I like am reading a fae book, a lot of authors just can't give. Like I want like Holly Black, like I want like evil fae, well not evil because Carter's not evil, but you know, evil fae falling in love with the main character. Or yeah, just that. Like when people write fae, they write more of the aspect of like the fae are evil, like, and they exist, but here's me and here's my love interest that's a human. No, I want your love interest to be the fae, okay? I want Akatar, I want the Cruel Prince, you know. I don't, I know a lot of people, they want like, oh, like a, fae are evil. We know they're evil. Now fall in love with it. Thank you. I read Yellowface, which I gave 4 stars. I absolutely love this book. It's a very popular book. If you don't know what it's about an Asian author who dies, and she has this one author who's like her friend, and she ends up taking her manuscript and turning it as her own, and then she ends up getting backlash from it, or she ends up having to suffer the consequences of it. I really loved it. I loved the like I don't know, I didn't have the book physically, but like in my mind I kind of read it as mixed media. Like I had like they talked about Twitter. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Okay, I loved it. There was like an aspect where they like talked about booktubers, and like I just feel like Arab Kwan knows I exist. It had nothing to do with me, but like Arab Kwan, she knows I exist, I fear. It was just so good, but the only issue was like I feel like the ending was a bit anticlimactic, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. And I just feel like this book has like so many, like, my camera overheated and I just listened to the Little Mermaid soundtrack. I do not know where I was. So yeah, I read Yellowface, gave it 4 stars. Then I read Divine Rivals, and I gave this 2 stars. This is about this world. It's about 2 journalists. It's like, first of all, this is like olden days, okay? It's about 2 journalists who, okay, wait, how do I explain this book? Okay, it's a world, and there are these gods who are at war, right? And so it follows these 2 journalists who are like rivals for each other. The main character, she had to drop out of high school because her mom is an alcoholic. Very interesting stuff to put like in a fantasy book that, like, I read it as if it took place in the 1920s. It probably took place even before then. I think it could have. I just, in my mind, that's just how it was. Like, typewriters, like, I don't know. Just how I went in my mind, okay? So so they are rivals, and she had to like stop being in high school, and so yeah, it's about that. And in the beginning I thought it was really interesting. She has like this brother who was like missing. She has no idea where he is, and so she's like writing him letters, and there's also a magical typewriter, so she's like typing her enemy, and I thought that was really fun. And it also was like, it kind of read as if they were like texting each other because it was like instant, because it was magic, so it's like instant. I don't know, I thought it was fun, right? But it didn't go anywhere. It went absolutely nowhere. It was very boring. And then I looked at the reviews and a lot of other people, like, it had no plot. It didn't really talk about the gods. Like, it was just the main character. It was like the main character's everyday life. To be honest, it wasn't very interesting. And I looked up some reviews and it wasn't interesting. And it sucks because the cover is so beautiful. Like the paperback cover and the hardcover are just absolutely beautiful. And then I wanted to, like, if I liked it, then I will read. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of A River Enchanted, sorry. But if I had liked Divine Rivals, I was going to read A River Enchanted. But I also saw, like, this author is just not for me. Like, her books are boring. They have no plot, they have no action. They're not for me, so I'm going to stay away from them. But I'm just so sad because I wanted to like it. I wanted to like it so bad. I'm not like a boring girl. Like, I'm sorry, but if you write a fantasy book, do something. Do something. Like, girl, you should have just wrote a romance. If you wanted to do all that, you should just wrote a historical romance. Wasting my time. Wasting my time. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I read fantasy books, I'm here for the fun. I'm here for the fantasy. I'm here for the world building, to learn the world, for like some action, some like dragons, some fighting gods, fighting with gods. I don't know. All the potential here was wasted. I hate when authors like focus on like character-driven books and fantasy books, because it's like they never focus on the plot, and it irritates me so bad. Anyways, so then that was back in my YA era. Okay, so now I read this book, and it was called The Recipe for Moving On. I gave it 4 stars. It was so fun. It was so much fun. So it was about this girl, and she was starting at this new school, and her boyfriend had like her and her boyfriend, like, they were like living the perfect life. Like, she was friends with all of his friends because she didn't know anybody. Like, they started dating basically like a month within her being in the school, and so they're like dating, and they have this camping trip planned. She decides that she wants to lose her V card to him, like, everything she's decided, until he breaks up with her. And then they are in this class together. It's like a life skills class kind of thing. They're in this class together, and he is very clearly like flirting with his girl best friend. We all know how that goes. And she has to watch it, and she ends up like joining this group, and they have like this group like project that they do where they're like a family and they have to do projects every like week or so, and it's like a group full of like these boys. They're like the outcasts of the school, and I loved it. It reminded me of like my Wattpad days, and I use that in a term of endearment. So like it was like, you know, the outcast, like the not like the bad boy, but like the skater boy, like the damn, what is it called? The fuck, what is it called? The artist, I don't know what the thing is called, but you know, the trope. But the starving, and not starving artist either, whatever. Yeah, so like she ends up becoming friends with them, and I love that because it reminded me of like my favorite Wattpad trope was the girl, like when she had to go live with a group of guys, or like where a group of guys just like took her in, and it was just so fun. Like had so much drama, like I was giggling. I love the romance, I love the friendship. It was just so fun. Like there was like this scene where they had to do this project where they went to a grocery store, and they had like a budget because they were a family, and so their family had like, everyone had like their roles or whatever. It's not, they didn't have to be the family, but like they had like a mom, and she had like 3 kids and no husband, and she was a bus driver, and so they had to like, you know, buy groceries as if they were her, and they had to be able to like afford it, like what the teacher gave them. And so they were like shopping together, and that's how like they formed their friendship, because the love interest kind of thought she was like stuck up into it. Was just so good. Like it was so good. It was such a well written YA book. I had so much fun. Then I read this book called Small Town Hearts, which ended up giving me 2 stars. It's about this girl, and she doesn't go to college. It's a YA, but like she's like in college age. She doesn't go to college, and she stays in town with her friends. She like lives like above this like lighthouse. She works like this cute little store, and one day her friends stopped being friends with her because her friend broke up with her boyfriend, but she never really broke up with him. She made the main character do it. So when the main character went to break up with him, he was very sad. He tried to kiss her. They didn't tell her, and then one night they end up telling her, and she ends up getting mad and stops being friends with the main character, but stays with the boyfriend. And so it really irritated me. It just pissed me off, and I get that was the point. Like the point was like manipulative best friends. Now the best friend didn't deserve her, but it just irritated me so bad because the main character wanted to be friends with her again. It's like, girl, have some self-respect. This girl is still friends with her boyfriend, but not friends with you. What does that say about her? You know what I'm saying? So it really just irritated me, and I just couldn't do it. So then I read TJ Poar Has Something to Prove. 5 stars. I love this book down. Love this book. This book is about this girl named TJ, and she is on a debate team with her cousin. Her and her cousin win the debate team. The school newspaper takes a picture of it. So you know, TJ goes to school. You end up finding out she's a very popular girl. She's really pretty. She's on the soccer team. Like everyone loves her. She has a boyfriend. Like life is great for her. Well, the school newspaper comes out, and TJ's cousin, like when she takes a picture, because they are agents, so when she takes a picture of her, when they took a picture of her cousin, they basically her cousin becomes a meme because of how hairy she is. So at first, like TJ is so upset. Her and her cousin are not close. People don't even know they're cousins. Like they are not close, and it's not because like, you know, she's embarrassed or anything. They just aren't close. And so TJ goes to check up on her cousin, and her cousin just seems to not care. But TJ's like, no, fuck this. Going to like, okay, so her and her friends are going to get like wax, and she just walks out, and then she goes to couple with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is like absolutely like, he's pretends to be cool with it, but it was like very, very weird. And basically TJ just decides that she's gonna stop shaving. So she has like this mustache, like she has hair everywhere. I absolutely love it because I don't know if you know, I am a hairy girl, okay? I am a hairy girl, okay? It's something that we have like a joke. Well, now it's like a joke that my mom has all the time. I'm a hairy girl, and one thing about me is I do not shave my legs. Oh, I'm not trying to give y'all no free. I shave. Like I don't shave my legs. Like I shave my legs in the summertime because like I guess it seems rude if you don't. But like other than that, like in the winter time, I do not shave. I do not shave my legs. I get hair in places that like you would not even know people get hair in. I didn't even know people could get hair in the places that I got hair in. I have hair in the back of my kneecaps. You know what I'm saying? And I don't shave it. Hair, okay? And so reading this book to me was so powerful because I also had just saw a tweet about how having body hair is super unhygienic and unhygienic, whatever. And it just irritated me. And then also like I have a belly button piercing, so I always have to shave my belly button. Like it's just so frustrating, and I hate it so much. And it's something that I do because like the areas of my body that I shave, like I don't shave my legs. I only shave my legs in the summertime if like I'm going to like if like we're going on vacation and I'm going to a pool. That's the only time. Any other time, like I don't shave my legs. Like, but like there are certain parts of my body, like I'll shave like my belly button because I know that like I have a belly button piercing, so people's eyes go there. Like, you know, I shave my armpits from every now and then. I'm not gonna let y'all. So like I just love this book. Like, as someone who like is a hairy girl, like, and doesn't give a shit, like I love this book. And I loved her like trying to figure out like what, like she basically just wasn't shaving. Like, it wasn't even like I'm not shaving until this time. It was just she just wasn't shaving. She didn't know why. She just was. And it was so good. It was so powerful. And it had an academic rivals to lovers because one of the guys on her debate team, his name was Charlie. He is like her rival, and they end up having like them falling in love. And it was so good because there was like this there's a scene where she they were about to, there was something was about to happen. I think they were like about to kiss or something, and she like, it gets hot, she's up, no, something happened and it gets hot and she's up taking her shirt off, and obviously she's hairy, and he like looks at it and he like seemed freaked out. So then, you know, she like thinks he's turned off by it. She's like, you know, insecure about it or whatever, and she confronts him, and he finally tells her like what it was, and it's just like, because it wasn't what she thought it was, you know. And it was just so good. Like, it was just so good. Like, as someone who hates shaving, who doesn't shave, who is hairy, I loved it. Amazing. So then I read these summer nights, or was it those summer nights? I don't know. That was about this girl and her ex-best friend. I don't know why YA books that focus on ex-best friends. Like, I mean, I get it, I understand, because like, you know, in high school, in any part of your life, your best friend's important, but especially in high school. So this is about this girl whose best friend isn't talking to her anymore. I think she was on a soccer team too. She was on something, and she wasn't on it anymore. She went away from school for a year. She's back for the summertime. She has to get a job, so she gets a job at like this place that's like, I don't even know how to explain it. They have like bowling, they're like a bunch of stuff there. It's like a really fun place for like kids. And so she's not working there, and her brother works there, and her brother's best friend, her younger brother, her brother's best friend, they end up working there. And there's like this guy that works there, and he's like a tool, but he like takes an interest with her. But then her brother's best friend ended up kind of forming a romance, and then her ex best friend works there. I thought it was a really fun book. I thought it was a really cute and fun book. I really liked the relationship. One thing I didn't like about the book was that she referred to her brother as her kid brother, but her brother obviously wasn't that much younger than her because she was dating his best friend. But yeah, and it was very interesting because I've never read like a best friend's brother with a best friend is younger than her. So I thought that was really interesting. Will I ever do it again? No, it wasn't nothing wrong with it. I just prefer like when the guy is older in romance books, or what, like, if at least if they're in high school. Like, it doesn't always have to be that case. Like, I don't mind age gaps where the girl is older, but like, I don't know. I read Not Here to Be Liked, which I gave 3 stars. It's an academic rivals to lovers story. It's about a girl who is running for like the school newspaper, and this random guy who's not even a part of the newspaper, he ends up like running for it and ends up winning it. And so she is mad one day, so she writes an article about like how sexy it was and how tired she is, and it ends up going viral. And it's kind of like Moxie, which I love Moxie, but I was just more so like, I had just read TJ Poar. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. One of my favorite books of the year, like top 1 of the year so far. So I was trying to just read some academic rivals to lovers fun, and not like academic rivals to lovers feminist, which I mean, I didn't mind it. I gave the book 3 stars. I had a lot of fun. It just wasn't what I was looking for at the moment. So that's not why I gave it 3 stars or anything. It's just like that's just something I want to say. Then I also read Not My Problem, which is a queer book, and this book is about a girl who basically one of the girls in her school is running for something, and she needs like an extra day, so she asks the main character to push her downstairs, and the main character does it. So then she ends up starting like doing these tasks for people for things that they don't really want to do. And yeah, I thought it was fun. I gave it 3 stars. It's also academics rivals to lovers, but it was queer, so I thought that was like really fun. But I just thought it was like, I don't know, I kind of want to give it lower than Not Here to Be Liked, because it just was like, okay, it was fine. Okay, I see why it's not hyped up. And then lastly, I read The Little Mermaid makes a splash. This is the like kids novelization of The Little Mermaid, and I read it because I wanted to see the artwork. I was on Pinterest and I kept seeing the artwork everywhere, and I just think it was so beautiful. So I decided I went to read it. I don't remember if I said it, but I gave it 5 stars. I could not find this book in my library anywhere. I wanted to read this book so bad. I ended up finding a teacher reading it for her students on YouTube. Like, it was like, obviously it wasn't for her, like, it was like, seemed like it was like for like homework or something, or like something that, or not even just for students. I think it was like something that the teacher did for kids, because I know it was like, basically it was kids YouTube, which I learned that on kids YouTube, once you leave the app, the video stops playing. So I really had to, you know, sit there and watch it, which I mean, I don't mind, but yeah, I thought it was like so cute. I love the art. It was like 40 pages long. I love that it like really got to the point. You know, got to the point, and it focused on important parts of the movie. I will say on one criticism I do have was that Prince Eric was not enough, but I love the like. I loved it so much. I love The Little Mermaid. It's my favorite movie of the year. I'm gonna try to go back to the movies to see it, because y'all know, if y'all know me, y'all know I do not go to the movies. I go to the movies for Black people and Marvel movies, and then the time that does cross over. So I will be needing to go and watch The Little Mermaid again. I need to go watch it the second time because it was just that good. It was that good. So yeah, that was my wrap up. I'm in a little bit of a reading slump, but I'm gonna try to read because I'm also vlogging, so I'm gonna try. But yeah, that's it for this vlog. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.